We are going to start with a back loop double crochet, which is where we start the rib for the neckline. So we're going to have a chain. We've got a chain here of 7 loops, and we are going to go into the second chain from our hook. This is our working loop, so this doesn't count. So we're just going to skip this first one and we're going into this second one. Now you can, if you want to, work into the back loops. I usually do, but when we're doing a back loop double crochet rib, it's actually better to go in here. So we're going into the side of the chain, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over through 2 loops. Then we're going into the next one, into the side, yarn over, pull through, yarn over through 2 loops. Obviously I'm using a much thicker yarn than you're going to be using for the Catdigan, although if you're watching this just to find out a back loop double crochet, that won't make any sense. Here we go. So our first row is just simply doing our double crochets into that top loop. So there's no yarn over. This is UK terms, so we're going in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and for the final one here, this can be a little bit fudgy, if you like, tricky to see the loops as clearly, but we're going into this loop here, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over through 2. So that's our first row of double crochets. We're then going to make a chain and turn. Now you can turn either way, make sure it's not too tight, your chain. Now you can turn either way. Usually I would turn this way, but that can lead to this bit being a bit twisty at the top edge of the rib. So for these ribs, I'm going to turn this way. It really doesn't matter as long as you're consistent. So whichever way you decide to turn, just make sure you do it that way every time. So now we're looking at our double crochets and we're looking at the top. So when you look at the side, that's the back of the stitch there, and then that's the top of the stitch there, that's the front there. But we're looking at the top of the stitch here, so we can look at those little heart shapes. We're not going into the chain here, but we are going into the back loop of the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through that back loop, and then complete your double crochet. It does look like it stretches up, but it really doesn't. Once you've finished your rib, everything all settles down nicely so that we have a nice rib. So we're going into the back loop of every stitch. So we started with 7 chains and we're going to have 6 stitches. So however many chains you start with, you will have 1 less for your double crochets. Keep an eye as you get to the end. So we're going into this loop here, and then we're going into this loop here. This can get a bit twisted. This is where we turned, so we can get a bit twisty. We're going into that top loop at the back there. Okay. Then we're going to make a chain, the same as we just did before. And we're going to turn. Again, I'm turning towards myself on this one. And then we find not the chain, we're not going into the chain, we're going into the first double crochet here. So going into there, going into the back loop. It's always the first and the last ones that are the hardest to find. So that's the first one, back loop. You may find that this looks like it's the back loop, but it's not. You have to kind of rotate it slightly so that you can see exactly where that back loop is. Into the back loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over through 2 loops, into the back loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then we've got this one here, and then we've got one more to do. So when we're counting, it's nice to be able to see the exact ridges for pairs of rows. So if you look at this side, you can see that that ridge is where the first row was done into the chain, and so this would be 1 and 3. But if we turn it over, we can count in twos, which of course is much easier. And so you've got that little tiny dip there, and then that ridge there is your second row. So you can count 2, 4, 6, and so on.